Hi, Katie.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Your eyes are nice and sparkly tonight.
I think we have the entire board here. Got Tom, Randy Timmer, Randy Van Wynen. I think we're waiting on Tom Stegman.
I thought I saw Tom, but I guess I didn't.
Yeah, he was here.
I thought so.
Well, so we're just missing one right
Looks like-
now?
Yeah, it looks like he should be joining right now.
Okay.
And we should have everyone. So
Okay. We'll get started then. I'm gonna call the Thursday, May 20th, 2021 Beach Safety Committee meeting to order. And next up, we'll have the approval of the agenda. I need a motion for approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Chris Campbell, I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Any other discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to include the supplemental materials that were emailed out after the agenda was originally emailed out, to include them in the discussion.
I think already included as part of the agenda packet, are they not?
Do we need to officially add those now, or they're already in?
they're
They're
already part of the agenda packet.
Okay,
Never mind then.
all right. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll call the roll for approval of the agenda.
Okay. Campbell,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Stegman, Tom. We'll come back. Timmer,
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
Kate, I'm back.
Okay, there you are, Tom. Is that a yes from you?
Yes.
I think I'm missing somebody.
Me.
Oh, sorry, Van Wynen.
Yes.
Okay, all yeses, motion carried.
Okay. The agenda is approved. Next up, we'll have approval of the minutes of the April 22nd meeting. So I'll need a motion for that one.
Chris Campbell, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to approve the April 22nd minutes. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, we'll call the roll.
Doherty,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Stegman,
Yes.
Timmer,
Yes.
Van Wynen,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
All carried.
Okay, that brings us up to item 4, which is discussion and recommendations. We have items 4A through 4H. And we've only used up 3 minutes so far. So, you know, our time limit's about 2 hours. So I would say, all things being equal, that would give us maybe minimum of 10 minutes, maximum of 15 minutes per item for discussion. And you'll also want to refer to page 8. And that's a short list of and bullet points of items that this committee has discussed over the months. And what I would expect we'd want to do is use that for your motion language. Now, granted, all these were discussion items that kind of came to the top. It doesn't necessarily mean you want to use all the bullet points in your motion. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But at the minimum, I'll need one of the committee members to make a motion, hopefully using this list on page 8. And, you know, when you make your motion, say, let's say we're looking at the first one, which we're going to do in a second, beach signage, and there's 6 bullet points. And you could say, I move that we recommend item A, beach signage, all 6 bullet points, or maybe you only pick a couple out of there, and that'll get the ball rolling for the discussion. So that's how I'd like to proceed. Rather than having an open discussion, I'd rather, right when we get into the item, somebody makes a motion. That way we know what we're discussing. Sound fair?
Sounds good.
Okay.
So we're not going to follow the recommendation of the staff that we rank them.
Being we already approved the agenda, it's A through H. I don't know that it's necessary to do it at this point now.
Okay.
I think we'll just go right down the list,
Okay.
unless you guys want to do how we had talked about earlier. It's up to you.
To give us an idea of where we set as what we
Okay.
figure is important.
All right, we'll do it that way, for
I
sure.
mean, it's just a suggestion.
Okay. So Kate, would you like to help out with this portion?
Sure. Would you like me to summarize the A through H, or you want to see how we want to do a ranking of 1 through H, or 1 through?
Yes, let's figure out how we're gonna rank them so we can get to the discussion portion
Okay.
and the motion making.
Okay. One thing we could do is score them by golf scoring. So the lowest score is the highest score. So if you attributed a 1 to beach signage, so let's say if everyone gave a 1 to beach signage, that would have a point value of 7. That would be your highest. Consequently, if everyone put 8 on there, that would be a high point of 56. Does that make sense? 1 point or one numerical value from each member should assign a value. And what we could do is we could rank 1 through, I can just call out A and then go through the list and have everyone put their numerical value on topics A, B, C, and D, and just go down the list if that's how it could work for everybody. If that sounds good.
Yep, that sounds perfect. Let's do it.
Question for you. Are we writing this down, or what are we doing? How are we writing these golf score ideas down?
I'll be writing it down, so I can kind of keep track for you.
And what's high and what's low?
High
What's
is
the-
1
Okay,
and low is 8.
8.
So I'll make a quick
my golf game is bad, so usually it goes higher than 8s. So
Yeah, my golf game is like is opposite of my bowling game, so I understand your pain. So what we'll do is for number A, so that's beach signage, and everyone can see the bullet points there on number 8. What I'll do is I'll start calling out from the top of the order, which starts with Chris. And remember, it's 1 through 8.
and so when I'm doing this, I'm ranking just the whole thing as I would say a 1 for beach signage.
Yes, so if beach signage is your top, then you'll put a 1. If it's somewhere in the middle, you'll put a 4, or you'll just ascribe it to the value of top, which is 1, to all the way down to bottom, which is 8.
And I'm just telling you this then.
Oh, okay, it's number 1?
No, I mean, that's what I'm asking though, too.
Okay.
It is, I'm just telling you out loud. That's, I guess, where I'm a little confused.
Yes, this is going to be a verbal exercise rather than everybody having a sheet with these items and ranking them
Okay.
that way, turning them
That's
in.
fine.
So Chris, for item A, beach signage, what is your score?
Beach signage, I'll give it a 3.
Okay. Cam, beach signage, what is your score?
5.
5. Tom Renner, what is your score for number A?
7.
7. Sean Russell, your score for item A? Oh, sorry, Sean, you might be muted.
Sorry, I'm clicking back and forth between where I wrote them down. Sorry, it's for A, beach signage was 4.
Okay, 4. Tom Stegman, thank you. Tom Stegman, your number for item A?
2.
2. All right, Randy Timmer, your number for item A?
3.
Okay. And Randy Van Wynen, your number for item A?
Number 1.
Number 1, okay. Then we'll go on to item B. Peer barrier. Chris Campbell, what is your number for item B?
1.
Cam Doherty, your item for number B, or item B?
2.
2. Tom Renner, your number?
3.
3. Sean Russell, your item, your number for item B?
I'll get with it eventually. 5.
5, okay. Tom Stegman, your number for B?
2.
2. You've already put a 2 down. Do you want to use another number?
1.
1, okay. Randy Timmer, your number for item B?
2.
2. Randy Van Wyden, your number for B?
For 2.
Okay. All right, item C. Buoys. Chris Campbell, your number for item C?
This is a tough one. I'm going to go 4.
4. All right, Cam Doherty, your number for C?
8.
8.
Yep.
Tom Renner, your number for item C?
8.
Okay. 8 from Tom. Sean, your number for item C?
Also 8 for Sean.
Okay, 8 for Sean. Tom Stegman, your number?
5.
5. Randy Timmer, your number for item C?
4.
4. Randy Van Wynen, your number for item C?
8.
8. Okay. Moving on to item D. Flag system. Chris Campbell, your number for item D?
I'm going to go 7.
7. Cam Doherty, your number for item D?
4.
4. Tom Renner, your number for item D?
6.
6. Sean Russell, your item for, your number for item D?
6.
6. Tom Stegman, your number for item D?
4.
4. Randy Timmer, your number for item D?
5.
5. Randy Van Wynen, your number for item D?
5.
Okay. Item E, lifeguards. Chris Campbell, your number for item E?
8.
Cam Doherty, your number for item E.
1.
Tom Renner, your number for item E.
4,
4. Sean Russell, your number for item E.
1,
1. Tom Stegman, your number for item E.
5,
5. Randy Timmer, your number for item E.
6,
6. And Randy Van Wyn, your number for item E.
6.
6. Okay, on to number 5, item F, Beach Patrol. Chris Campbell, your number for item F.
2,
2. Cam Doherty, your number for item F.
7.
7. Tom Renner, your number for item F.
5,
5. Sean Russell, your number for item F.
3,
3. Tom Stegman, your number for item F.
2,
2. Looks like you've used 2 a couple times.
how about a 4 then?
You've got 6, 7, or 3 available.
7,
Okay, 7. Randy Timmer, your number for item F.
7,
7. And Randy Van Wyn, your number for item F.
4.
4. Moving on to G, regulations and enforcement. Chris Campbell, your number for item G.
6,
6. Cam Doherty, your number for item G.
3.
3. Tom Renner, your number for item G.
1,
1. Sean Russell, your number for item G.
7,
7. Tom Stegman, your number for item G.
I think I have a 3 available.
You do. Okay. Randy Timmer, your number for item G.
1,
1. And Randy Van Wyn, your number for item G.
7.
7. And our last item, which is H, communications and outreach. Chris Campbell, your number for item H.
is it possible I can actually switch this to my number 4 and switch the number 4 to a 5?
Yes. So 4 for number H and then 5 for item C.
Yep.
Okay. Cam, your number for item H.
6.
6. Tom Renner, your number for item H.
2,
2. Sean Russell, your number for item H.
2,
2. Tom Stegman, your number for item H.
I must have an 8 left.
You do. Randy Timmer, your number for item H.
I think I only have an 8 left as well.
You do. And Randy Van Wyn, your number for item H.
3.
3. Okay. It'll take me a minute to get these tallied up.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
While she's doing that, I would just be curious if any of the committee has signed up for the messaging that's going out each day, and if they are, how they feel about it.
Anybody have any comment?
I need to. I forgot about it.
Okay.
I just haven't done it yet, Tom.
Okay.
Haven't done it either yet. Plan to.
Yeah, if you just text 888-777 and type in the word beaches, it'll immediately access you. And our goal now is to do that by 9 o'clock in the morning, before or simultaneous to the time that the flags are flying for the first time each day. They haven't had a chance yet to try it when they changed the flags. We've been blessed with green flags all day long since we started last Saturday. But the thought is if it changed during the day to a different color, to immediately then text that.
Hey, Tim,
Yes.
I don't know if a lot of the committee members realize Tom's a retired assistant fire chief out of the fire department. So and he's also a past council member. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Bet.
And a person who loves this town like you all do.
Yeah.
Feel honored to be on this committee with you all.
And he also worked on the historical for the, what was it, the sesquicentennial and the centennial, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the White House.
Now you're aging me, Tim.
I'm sorry.
So I have the scores almost done, but I did catch an error. I have 2 5s for Tom Stegman. Tom, I have you having a 5 on item C, buoys, and item E, lifeguards. You do have a 6 that's available. So can you tell me which item C would you like to have the 5, and which item C or E, the 5, or which item for the 6? So
6 for
buoy-
the lifeguards.
Okay. All right, my apologies for not catching that earlier. I have the scores for each topic, if you're ready.
Okay, start with the highest priority.
Okay, the highest priority is the peer barrier at 16 points.
Okay,
The second highest is G at 28 points.
okay.
Which one is that? Oh,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Regulation and enforcement.
Yes.
okay.
Okay. And then the third one would be item E, lifeguards. I'm sorry, nope. A, which is beach signage at 25.
Beach signage is number 3.
Yes. And then we go to E, lifeguards at 32. And then 5 is going to be H, communications and outreach, with a score of 33.
Okay,
And then we have 35 is item F, so that's going to be 6. 6 is F.
okay.
And then we have, 37 is D. So D is item 7.
7. Okay,
Hold on a second. Let me just renumber make sure I'm on the right path here. Yep. And then C is item 8 at 46 points.
okay.
So,
All right, that's the order we're gonna take these in. So we're gonna start with item 1, which is peer barrier. So for that one, the recommendations that are bullet pointed are install rope barriers and then implement fines. There may be something else too that's not on here, maybe. So what I'm looking for is a motion for peer barrier to either accept both those bullet points or one of them, or maybe the 2 bullet points and something additional, or
This is Chris Campbell. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion in favor of peer barrier with both bullet points.
okay.
I support.
All right, it's been moved and supported to make the recommendation for the peer barrier, including both bullet points. Is there any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I wonder if would agree to consider removing the word rope. For example, I just recently saw a photo of what Ludington is doing with some fencing that I think might be worth considering. So rather than limiting it only to a rope barrier, could leave
Yeah,
that
I'm-
option to city staff to decide what it's going to be.
I'm with Mr. Renner on that. I'd like to leave the language a little bit more vague to leave some room for opportunity on some changes on exactly what the barrier would be.
Yeah, let them figure it out. Yeah. No,
I
they'll
like
have,
the way you said that.
well,
I agree too. That makes,
they'll have good ideas.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, I do recall quite a bit of discussion on this particular item, and rope was mentioned specifically, so I just wanna,
I think we did that, Tim, because it was so quick and easy to put up without, in something that would hold up even in off summer times. I think that's why we got to the rope idea. But there might
Okay.
be stuff that would work, you know, but the staff, I'm sure the staff and the engineers could come up with something.
then maybe you wanna consider, rather than striking rope, maybe something more to the effect of install rope barriers or others similar.
I think I just do what they said, is just take rope out of there, install barriers with signs. But leave it up to them to figure,
Okay,
you know, because that was so hard years ago with that old fence that we had up there, because it couldn't even take much water. So,
all
Tom,
right.
quick
So,
question.
Chris, rather than us going through the convoluted effort of doing an additional motion with strike, why don't you make another motion and with the, if you want, with the 2 bullet points, but specifically say strike the word rope.
so I make the motion again.
Yeah, if you would.
Okay, yep. Let me make a motion for peer, in favor of peer barrier for both bullet points, except for bullet point with rope barrier, strike that to allow the city to find the best options.
I'll support that. Good idea.
Okay. So we have the new motion. It's been supported. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote now by roll.
All right. Renner,
Yes,
Russell,
Yes.
Stegman,
I guess, yes.
Timmer,
Yes.
Van Wynen,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
motion carried.
Move on to item 2, which is G, regulation and enforcement. And there's 1 bullet point with 2 subsets.
Can we talk about this a little bit more? Because I'm trying to wrap my head around logistics on enforcement of regulations.
Right, but what I want to do is for a motion to be made so we know exactly what we're talking about.
So the motion is to discuss it further, not as part of the proposal to the city council.
No, just all the motions, it could not be adopted, but I still want something on the floor that we know we're discussing specifically.
Okay.
Tim, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt it as written, both bullet points. Well, with the
Okay.
subsections, I guess.
I'd like to support that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Now we'll move into the discussion phase. Cam, what did you want to discuss?
So I have 2 kind of questions. I'm wondering about the logistics. So the implement fines for entering the closed beach. I just wonder about the logistics of actually being able to close the beach. And then wondering too, if we don't have something in place like lifeguards or extra beach patrol, the viability of even being able to enforce this given how thin our police staff is. My point is, we have a lot of ordinances right now on the beach that largely just, they can't be enforced.
Well, I don't think for this committee, you have to get down in the weeds on this. This is more of a recommendation. If all things being perfect, could this be done if the budget and the manpower was there?
Okay,
And is it desirable?
okay, that's fair.
But
Tim?
you have to remember, anything that comes out of this committee goes to city council, and there'll be a ton more of public comment and public hearings. This is just, this is just the baby step.
Tim, can I,
Guys. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Randy.
go ahead, Randy.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're all right.
I just think that this completely follows up on our first one on closing the pier. If we just close the pier and we don't have any enforcement to it, that really didn't do anything. If people are just going to walk around it. So that's why I'm big on this and made the motion for it is, you know, if we have the first one, we kind of have to have this. So.
I didn't think of that. That's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you have rules and you don't enforce them, then you just got guidelines, right?
Right. Yep.
Tim, the only thing of course, they'll probably figure it out, but the authorizing a designated official, I would have a designated official or appointee or whatever. We ran into this years ago. We had a big storm during the 4th of July, and we couldn't stop the fireworks because there was nobody authorized to stop them. And I don't know if you remember that one, but it was a mess. And we took care of that, you know, afterwards, but and I'm sure when they write that, if they're writing an ordinance, it's going to have somebody, you know, it's not going to be just one person. It's going to be either an organization or whoever. So that's the only thing I don't know about having just a designated official. You might want to have more than.
Open up the wording a little bit more.
Yeah, but they can do that when they write the ordinance, as far as that goes, and they will.
I heard the city attorney say that, you know, the enforcement would need to happen by a peace officer. So I'm guessing, like you said, Randy, when the ordinance is written, those sort of stipulations would
Will be put in there.
be part of the ordinance.
Yeah, after I thought about it, you're right. It'll include, it won't be one person.
That reminds me too, this was when we were talking about regulations and enforcement, that's when the kiteboarding situation came up, right, Chris? When we were talking about writing it in such a way that we allow for those types of recreational activities to still continue, even though we've closed it to swimmers.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to update this language here so that we catch that on the front end.
I think council will look at that too, once it comes through. That's a good question, Kate.
Yeah, something we can look into. Because we do have a significant surf population, people who do like to come here and do that. So we'll have to find some ways to make that accommodate for that.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, the motion that was made was for letter G, regulations and enforcement as written. We'll call the roll.
All right, Russell,
Yes.
Stegman,
Yes.
Timmer,
Yes.
Van Wynen,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes,
all voted yes, motion carried.
Okay. That brings us up to the third ranked priority, which is letter A, beach signage. And that was from the December and January meeting, and in your recommendation topics, there's 6 bullet points.
Well, it was my number one thing, so I'll make a motion to approve the beach signage and all its bullet. No, 1, 2, 3, all 6 bullets.
Okay, is
Tom Stegman, I'll second that.
there any discussion?
are
Um,
these bullet points too specific? I mean, it seems like we're telling them they need to do these things.
Yes,
I think we are kind of telling them, Tom, or recommending
Okay.
to them. Yeah, that's my take.
Okay,
The only one that jumps out at me is the double red flag. If we have the ability to close the beach and pier and we have the ability to enforce it, I'm not certain a double red flag is really necessary.
I agree with Cam. I think that could get confusing. I was for it originally, but looking at it, yeah, not everyone's going to understand that. I mean, they're going to think like stoplights.
Right, you can't extra stop.
Yeah, and they do have the one that has the swimmer with the line through it for no swimming.
Yeah, I would be for replacing our current red flags with that red flag versus
Oh.
adding an additional red flag.
I thought I saw it last summer that we had that up, but
They have
I
it.
could be wrong.
I saw it in one of the on one of the rescues. You can see it right by the rescue truck. Yeah, yeah, it's flying.
no, I could see everybody's point on that. One thing maybe I would add, is there a situation, and we're talking swimmers versus recreation such as the kiteboarding, would there be a possibility for a situation where you would say you'd want the beach closed to the recreational aspect, and with that you put up the double red flag?
I don't know. I mean, I've been out there. Honestly, have a day from 2008 that I remember, and I felt like I was going up and down mountains, and I jumped about 70 feet. So I remember that day specifically. But that is kind of like the Christmas of all kiteboarders.
Well,
utopia.
I think the only time, Tim, you'd run into that is like if you were into a rescue or something. And I think they have the ability to, and the guys, the kiteboarders and that stop anyway during something like that. So
Okay.
I don't think you'd have to have a double red flag. I think once the sheriff's patrol and the helicopter and all that's there, they're gonna stay out of the water. I would hope.
I last summer I do recall seeing some overlap that way with at least one of the rescues, but I think in general you're probably right, Randy. So I mean, and honestly, if you look at all of the rescues we've had, even just over the last 2 years, how often have any of them included anybody out there kiteboarding? None that I can recall. Maybe some kayakers, but not kiteboarders.
Yeah, we had instances of kayakers, but you're right on the other. Actually, one of them made a rescue for us, so
Yeah, true.
they get themselves involved, and they're skilled.
So is there a use for a double red flag, even if we can't define what it is right now? Do you leave it in your motion or do you remove that from the motion? I guess is what I'm trying to get to. Could
I
there
think-
be a possibility for its use?
I think it's gonna get confusing. You want me to remake it without that in there? Because I do think it'll get confusing to people. They won't understand what it is. Yeah.
Well, you made the motion. That's why I'm asking you.
Okay, yeah, I'd strike that. So,
Okay, so you
I
would
make-
just do the first 5 bullet points.
yes, the first 5 bullet points. But I make the motion that we approve the beach signage with the first 5 bullets and strike add the double red flag.
Okay. Is there support for this motion?
I'll support it.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? John?
Yeah, just a quick question. On the third bullet, first sub bullet, move signs closer to the beach. Is that supposed to say closer to the water? I thought most signs were on the beach already. Or am I misreading that?
Yeah, you got a good point, because I think it was to the water. Away
Yeah,
from the
that's a good
parking lot.
catch.
We can make that change. So I think because of the high water, we moved them almost to the parking lots on some beaches. So it's probably just a verbal thing, but we can make that closer to the water.
Okay.
That was all I had.
Good point.
So strike beach and insert water. Any other discussion? So just to reiterate, the motion is to approve the language for the beach signage, 5 bullet points. Third bullet point, first subcategory, strike beach and insert the word water.
Right.
Okay. There's no further discussion. We'll call the roll on this.
Stegman,
Yes.
Timmer,
Yes.
Van Wynen,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Motion carried, and it passed with everyone.
Okay. Priority item 4 is letter E, lifeguards. And 1 bullet point.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend letter E, all bullet points.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to the create a lifeguard program. Any other discussion?
On discussion, the only thing, Cam, just that you might think about for your motion is the verbiage reinstate the lifeguard program. So it's clear that we're kind of looking back, if and when they take a look at it, that they're looking back at what we did before. And that way they have like a baseline to change from, that. There's
I
probably
think
some-
that would,
Go ahead,
that
sorry.
would be still a new thing though, because it's been so long. You would have to look at whole new procedures and everything, I would assume.
Well, so when we submit our recommendation to city council, how detailed do we need to be and should we be on any of these items that we include in the recommendation?
I think if council decides to take up any of these items, then they'll get into the nuts and bolts of each of it. We're just trying to do some broad strokes here. We did look at details so that when the recommendation is made, they have supplemental packets
Okay.
with the detail that was discussed, but we're not going to solve it here tonight. We're just trying to move in the direction of making these recommendations. But you
May
guys,
I-
can make whatever
may I
motion
offer-
you want. Yes, Tom.
I'd like to suggest making it read as opposed to it being definitive, the definitive word create, to have it say, consider creation of a lifeguard program. I mean, the ultimate decision for it is going to be with the city council, not with us.
The one thing I would say though is we're supposed to be making a recommendation. So we're either recommending it or we're not recommending it. And then it's up to the, I mean, of course they would then consider our recommendations. Am I wrong on that, Tim?
You can look at it either way. I mean, when you get into specific language and what the intention is, right now we have create a lifeguard program, and this would be a case where rather than us doing some strikes on the fly, if Tom felt really strongly about that, he would make a make a motion to amend, and if he had support, then we would vote on the amendment. And then if that passed, then we'd look at the motion as a whole. So that's the splitting hair type thing. And that's what we'd have to get into when we're talking vocabulary. So right now it's create, but if you wanted to add consider, it'd be a separate motion to amend.
Before that, could Tom, I get some color on why you would want to change it to consider?
You probably won't believe this, but I'm still undecided on whether this is something South Haven should do. I think we're too late for 2021. I think it would be prudent to either through this committee or the city council to continue conversation. There are a lot of practical sides to this that we haven't discussed that I think need to be discussed. So that's the reason I wanted to leave it open-ended as far as it's something that we are going to continue having conversation over rather than voting, let's say, against it as it's written now and coming across as we're against lifeguards at our beaches.
Well, so what I would add to that is that's what we've been supposed to be doing over the last 5 or 6 months. And if we move it to recommendation, then I'm aligned with you that there's certainly more to talk about, but then we would put it on city council to talk about it openly with the public, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate decision is still going to be with the council, and the fact that it's one of the 8 items would indicate, I think, to the public and to the council that we do feel it is worth considering.
I'll tell you right now, I'm going to vote no, because being that we are a small city, why is Holland, why is Grand Haven? To me, it is our shade system does a great job. I don't see a benefit. And being that I've dealt with hundreds of 16, 17-year-old kids, I think it's putting another life in danger.
So I would counter that by saying everybody keeps referring to lifeguards as 16 and 17-year-olds. I don't think anybody has outlined that's who lifeguards are or would be in South Haven. The next thing I would add is it's undisputed that lifeguards make a positive impact on beach safety from the USLA, from the CDC, multiple organizations. So I think we can dispute maybe the nuts and bolts of what a South Haven lifeguard program would look like, but I haven't heard anything over the last 6 months that suggests that lifeguards wouldn't be beneficial.
And don't get me wrong, I think pool lifeguards make sense. I think in certain conditions with buoyancy, with salt water, there's a whole different dynamic. When you have fresh water, no salt, buoyancy, you're adding a lot of different things into it. The other thing I would say is we also have to look at the potential. As of right now, the city is still trying to hire people. I'm still trying to hire people. the people aren't there. $16 an hour for a pool lifeguard is low right now. I just see a lot of logistics, a lot of issues. And then I would ask, why wouldn't Holland, Grand Haven, Muskegon, why are they not looking at this? I understand the other two cities that still do it in Michigan do it, but they never stopped.
Right, and there's
To
a reason
me-
that they
to
never
me,
stopped.
there are better things out there. I would look at cameras and a CCTV machine options. There's other options out there than putting 30 people on the beach every 30 feet. That's just from what I've seen. I've seen the lifeguards out here when I was a teenager. And I know certain people have different opinions and feelings about it, but I saw a lot of kids just looking at girls or guys and not paying a whole lot of attention.
What I would suggest is you might be right, but that's anecdotal. And we have 40 years of experience with lifeguard programs and did not have the drownings that we're seeing now.
We also have a
That's
lot more
factual.
population than we've ever had in history. And we've dealt with high water last year, which was a big issue that almost everyone on the coast dealt with. So, I mean,
What-
to use
how does-
last year as a reference point would be tough to say.
How does that not further suggest we need additional preventative measures? And I think the other thing to talk about too is, so you're talking about buoyancy, and so that comes into factor when you're talking about rescues. I'm talking about prevention. I'm talking about stopping a situation before a rescue.
You're talking about
So,
education.
Not
Educating
just
the public, informing them, right?
Yep. Informing them and preventing them.
But do
from
we
being
need
in that
lifeguards
situation.
for that? Could we use interns?
If you don't have somebody on the beach with trained eyes on the water while we have beachgoers there, then it's crapshoot.
I hear what you're saying. I've just not seen those people. And I'm considered a waterman. I've done this for 20 some years. And majority of people I've seen on the beach trying to do this, well, at least in bigger cities, even when I was in Florida recently, they were playing on their phone. They weren't looking.
So there are ways to combat that, because I think that those are very valid concerns today versus, 20, 30 years ago. We didn't have
Yeah.
that as an issue 20, 30 years ago. But I don't think that's a reason to strike it. I don't think it's a reason to not suggest that city council consider it, because there are things that could be put in place. And when you look at, so you talk about Michigan beaches, Chicago beaches have lifeguards in place right now. And they don't have the drowning deaths that we have, not during guarded hours on guarded beaches.
The thing is, it won't make any difference. This is gonna be up to the council, so.
Right.
And depending on what they do, and I get everybody's point. That's one of the reasons why I was gonna pay a lot, because there was a gentleman that talked to us a couple times, and he's been all over. I think Australia and everywhere. And I mean, you can tell he's a professional lifeguard. For me, that's the kind of guy I wanted to get. And then I would want to keep him. I would want to make sure he wants to come back next year and bring some of his friends with them. But this may have to end up going to a vote. This might have to go to referendum to even get enough money to do it. I think so. What we ought to be looking at is, do we suggest to the council that they need to continue on looking at guards? And that's how I'm taking this vote, because you're not going to tell the council what to do. That's for
Right.
sure. And so I take this, and personally, I take lifeguards like I do a lot of stuff. They're a good tool in the toolbox when you need that tool. But that tool is only going to cover us a little over 1,000 hours out of 8,000 some odd hours a year. And in my experience, and I told Kate of 14 drownings I was on, 2 of them were on the South Beach in why we had guards. So it's not like guards aren't going to prevent it. Things are still going to happen.
When
all
were
the
those?
All the other ones were elsewhere in other townships or off the pier. I separated the piers and we had I had 3 drownings off the piers. So but I think no matter if we came out and said, if we put create on there, I don't know if it makes a difference because council's going to do what they need to do. They're the ones that are going to decide if there's going to be a lifeguard program or not.
Yeah, we're recommending further consideration.
Wait,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
I was wondering at this time about if there should be verbiage to put in that maybe since the city of South Haven's residents have to pay for this lifeguard program, maybe it should go to a vote. Citywide vote.
I think it should too. I'll be honest. I think this needs more information. This is a creation of a whole new, to me, it's not just a program, but it's almost like creating Shays again. This is
That's
like a
right.
whole new thing.
A whole nother department, and that's the way it should be done and should be funded that way.
That's the reason I'm suggesting adding the word consider. I mean, these are the kind of things then that the city council is going to need to weigh. Do they want to put it to a referendum? Do they want to increase beach parking fees? Et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And
Okay,
Cam, you keep
so
talking about.
let me stop you right there for a minute. So the
Okay.
motion Cam made was to use the language we have right now in front of you, which is create a lifeguard program. So what you may want to be looking at is adding to that motion such things as create a lifeguard program with community support or something along those lines. If that's the route you're going, if you think there needs to be more input after it leaves here in a specific manner, or do you leave it the language as is, which basically means city council do a lifeguard program and then they have to do their due diligence to make it happen. These motions can be as vague or as detailed as you want and tailor them to what you think needs to happen.
And this is just guessing, but I would assume that, so let's say it moves forward, the city council then probably would get with the planning commission and work with the planning commission, maybe look at public opinion, and then go from there, I would assume, or have some public meetings as well. And
Yeah, I would think public meetings would be had. There is also already, we all have already collected public opinion by way of the survey that was done, what was that, a year and a half, 2 years ago. So there's a
Yeah.
starting point is what I'm saying.
yeah, and I do believe the beaches were closed actually last year in Chicago. So I don't think they were monitored.
Yeah, that I'll have to double check on because I do think a lot of them, it's Chicago specifically, further up the lakeshore, maybe not, but yeah.
And I've been doing some research on this idea of no drownings when we had lifeguards, and found one on July 18, 1997.
97.
There were 2 in 1975. The research has been somewhat limited because I can't get to microfilms at the library at this point. But I just don't want it thought of that the lifeguard program, if it's instituted, is going to all of a sudden end the dangers of the lake in which people drown.
No, and I don't want you to think that I'm so naive because I'm pushing for lifeguards that I think that. But what I would say is those 3 I hadn't seen, so I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. But that's over, we're talking about 40 years with lifeguards, and then we look at 4 or 5 in the last 2 years. And 2020, I understand higher waters, but it is not an anomaly either.
Hey, guys, I think we have to look at this also in the fact that we were tasked to come up with a recommendation. And now to change that back and say, oh, well, we think maybe you should look at this, or we think this or that. I think we need to keep it clear, concise, and say, this is what we said as a group, not go back and flip flop it on them. You know what I mean? Whether anybody likes the outcome or not, we've all put the time into this. We've done the research. We all have our opinions on it. And I think to differ from that now is just a little wishy-washy in the end.
Agreed. It feels like we're making different sets of parameters for lifeguards. That's what it feels like with this discussion. So I agree with you, Randy.
Is there any other discussion? And if you're gonna change the motion or alter it anyway, now would be the time to do it.
Well,
Is it-
since I suggested an amended motion, I'll go ahead and
Okay,
make it.
seeing no more discussion, Graham?
Oh.
What?
Tim, you were cutting out before, so you may have missed some of the conversation that had started to happen.
Oh,
Yeah, my screen, it looked like you
I
fell asleep.
said. No, I said unless there's further discussion, the motion stands as is. Unless anybody else was gonna make another motion.
I believe Mr.
or,
Renner was.
Amendment, but I don't think there
I-
is.
I was going
So
to,
seeing none, the motion would stand as,
Tim, your bandwidth is really low and you're missing Mr. Renner trying to make another motion.
go ahead, Tom.
I would offer an amended motion that the word consider be added to the lifeguard bullet point so that it reads, consider creation of a lifeguard program.
Okay, is there support?
I'll support that.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll on the amendment.
So this is for the item E, consider creation of a lifeguard program. So I'll go with,
To add language.
I'm sorry, add language, yes, to consider creation of. So we'll start with Timmer,
No.
Van Wynen,
No.
Campbell,
No.
Doherty,
Yes,
Renner,
Yes,
Russell,
I'm unclear. Can you, it broke out for me. Can you say what we're voting for specifically, please?
yes.
This isn't a, oh, go ahead, Kate.
Sure, so this is, the motion is to recommend lifeguards with the bullet point to read, consider creation of a lifeguard program. So it's adding consider creation of a lifeguard program.
Okay, so this isn't an amendment to adjust the language. It's an amendment to recommend it with the language adjusted as you just stated, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
This is an amendment. And then, once this is done, then we'll consider the motion.
okay, that's different than what I just heard from Kate. So this,
yes, it is.
Yeah.
No. We're looking at amending the motion Cam made to add language to it.
okay,
Okay,
then my vote is no.
Okay. Stegman,
No,
The motion to amend failed, I assume.
that's right.
Okay. So we're back to the original motion. Is there any other discussion? In the original motion, just simply the phrase create a lifeguard program.
Yes, I believe it was as written. Is that correct, Cam?
yes.
Okay, seeing no other discussion. Is there any other discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the roll again.
Van Wynen,
No.
Campbell,
No.
Doherty,
Yes.
Renner,
No.
Russell,
Yes.
Stegman,
No,
Timmer.
No.
Motion failed. 2-5, or 5-2 rather.
5-2, yes. Okay. All right, next one is item 5, communications and outreach. 4 bullet points.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Is there support?
Chris Campbell, I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? I will say one of the bullet points, the third one is QR code. That's already implemented, is it not?
Yes.
Items 3 and 4 both are.
I was talking to somebody and they brought up a good point with communication is what about, well, I don't know how you put this, but what about when the beach flags were changed, that there was an announcement made? If it was to a drastic color from the water treatment plant.
I think we do have that accounted for on letter D. You're
Yes.
talking about like an audible notification of yeah, I think that that's accounted for in the flag system.
Yeah, that one could have fallen under either one.
Mm.
They're kind of interrelated, I would say. All right, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll on priority 5, which is item H.
Campbell,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Stegman,
yes,
Timmer,
Yes.
Van Wynen.
Yes.
Okay. That passed. We'll move on to priority 6, which is F, beach patrol. And there's only one bullet point there.
I'll make a motion to approve beach patrol as written.
Tom Stegman, I'll second that.
Been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion on beach patrol?
I guess I'd like to understand what we mean by beach patrol. A frequency, somebody stationed on the beach. What are we talking about here?
Well, I think
My-
this goes back to the.
Go ahead.
Who-
Go ahead.
Who's speaking, Chris? If you want to
Yeah.
do, Chris, go ahead, because I'm really just the chair, so. you
No,
guys
I want to
can
hear what you were
just-
going to say first, though.
I was just recalling back to that March and April meeting in when we were hearing explanations. Yeah, it'd be great to have, more time, or more people, more time on the beach to answer questions, and that I think is what that amounted to. It's a staffing level.
I like that idea. I like the idea with Shays having their little UTVs down there. I think it's a great way for the police to get down there and honestly be out there in the public too, as well, to maybe walk the beaches once in a while. I think it's a good public outreach, as well. People see the police, they get to know them a little bit too. So I do remember when we used to have bike patrols and they would sit there and they'd put on their shorts and they'd go walk the beaches, and they'd
Well-
get to know some of the people.
we're talking about different things though. Let's not confuse the police department and Shays. Those are two different
You're right.
departments.
You're right. But I'm saying, and I brought up the police department, but I was saying that with Shays having the same option, they have their little vehicles. You see them out there changing the flags, but they're the ones also putting out the placemats and stuff. It would be a good thing for them to be out in the community a little bit on the beaches as well. And I like the idea of, seeing them down there. They've got the vehicles for it. So
But are they going to be equipped to respond to an emergency in the moment when it's happening? And are they going to be trained to recognize an emergency?
I think more than most people at this point, especially with that cool drone. I'm just saying.
The drone flies when an emergency is in progress, is my understanding. So it's not a prevention tool. And it's my
But
understanding
Shays
that
is actually in the process of reaching out as of now, and they have been, to reach out to the public and inform them in ways they can, especially, their placemat was an example of that. The QR code that they're putting out right now is also another example.
right. And we discussed all of those in H, and I'm all for that. And I love Shays, and I'm all for them getting extra visibility. That's never a bad idea. But what I'm trying to understand is what we mean by a Shays Beach Patrol program.
think the oth-
Frequency, we're talking about somebody stationed down there. Are they going to be trained to recognize emergencies before they become a rescue attempt? Are they going to be equipped to rescue?
I
This
think the other thing
sound-
we're talking about is changing, how quick they trying to get the flags changed faster too. That was part of that discussion, as I remember.
Well, is that not part of letter D though, under flag system?
Could be. That's coming up next.
Yeah.
And
But yeah.
just a heads up, I'm losing some of that audio there.
Well, the other thing is, we could ask Shays, but that's up to the Shays board.
Well, then how can we make a recommendation on it?
That's tough.
We're going to recommend that Shays
We could recommend to the city
request a bigger
council,
budget.
city council to, because that's all gonna have to be budgeted and, because the city pays Shays for that stuff now, but that'll be a big increase on Shays.
I think the point of this is that we were recommending to city council to further look into Shays, maybe adding an extra person to do this. As I recall in our conversation with Chief Hins, I asked him about potentially adding extra people to that program. I think that was what this whole thing was about, was just a recommendation to council for them to reach out more to Shays, since they already have people in it to go further.
Yeah,
Kate,
think
I believe the
remember that.
contract for this year was increased, wasn't it, to allow for that?
I think we did step it up. I think we've got the 4 people and there was an increase in how much was paid. I think the planning is to get more outreach. So they can be down there more, being around and just educating people and having the QR codes being added to the mules, getting shirts with that on there so they can get more information out.
I think my general confusion is I'm all for the QR code. I'm all for everything Shays is doing. But we've all been spending the last 6 months trying to come up with recommendations that could filter to Shays, and then hearing all these things that are already happening in the background with little awareness on our part, at least on my part, that those balls are already in motion, I think could have changed conversations. Again, I'm not anti anything Shays is doing. Half of what Shays is doing was on my list already. So I just would have been nice to understand what balls were already in motion.
I assumed everyone knew. It's on Facebook. They post, Shays posts about it.
After the fact, but I'm saying we've been meeting since December, talking about recommendations.
The placemats were out last year.
Yeah, I get the placemats. I'm talking about. Go ahead.
Okay, but I think we have to look at this in the fact that they have been paying attention to what we have been talking about. They hear good ideas that they think that they can implement right away, and they did it. I think it's fantastic. I mean, I think the fact that they took the ball and ran with it and put these things in place, number one, we don't need to know until they come out. They have that ability to do it, and we're able to just do it. I think that's phenomenal. I think everybody should be impressed with that.
I'm all for fast movement. I'm not anti-fast movement. And again, I'm not against any of the things that they've gotten in place. I'm just saying, if we have a whole committee built to help improve beach safety, and there are beach safety measures that are in motion already, just some additional communication would have been good. I'm not putting that on Shays for not communicating with us. That's all I'm saying.
So did we ever answer the question of what expansion of the Shays Beach Monitor program means? Satisfactorily?
No,
When I-
I don't know.
When I look at it, I take it that you're talking about putting more people down there. That's how I look at it, but.
But what does more people mean?
I think that's
mean-
up to Shays on that, to be honest. This is just an advisory committee. We're meeting together to come up with ideas to bring them forward to the people that can make those decisions. From there, I think Shays would look at that and say, hey, maybe we can do it this way or that way, but that's up to Shays.
And honestly, when we were drafting these recommendation topics, it pretty much kind of goes back to the recommendation we heard from, I think, Randy Timmer, when we were just talking about more people, education, being on the beach. And that's kind of how we put that on there. So it was just a recommendation that came out of one of the meetings.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? We have a motion, we have a second, and if everybody's ready, I'll call the roll.
Okay, Doherty.
No.
Renner,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Stegman,
Yes,
Timmer,
Yes.
Van Wynen,
Yes,
Campbell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay. Next is item 7, flag system. There's 3 bullet points, and I'll point out the 3rd bullet point. It says utilize the double red flag. Now, we already looked at that on item A. So this could be one that's removed, or maybe this is its rightful home. So I just wanted to point that out before somebody makes a motion. Maybe you only want 3 of the bullet points, 1 of them, 2 of them.
I'm sorry, I lost what letter that was again. My thing
D.
broke up.
D,
We're
5,
on D, which is priority 7.
I'll make a motion to approve the flag system with the first 2 bullets and to delete the utilize double red flag.
I'll support it.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion?
Hey, Tim, I have one comment. Can you hear me okay, or am I still breaking up?
You're good.
I can hear you.
Okay. My only comment on this one and my concern with recommending this, in particular with the no vote on lifeguards, is this system, as we've discussed and has been brought to the committee to understand that this system of flags was never meant to be used without lifeguards. So that's my only comment on that, and I'll be voting no for that reason.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I think that goes along with beach patrol. I think they can enhance some of that, the flag system with an enhanced having more people down there. And personally, when Shay started doing that, had I been the director at that time, I would have fought against doing that. Shay's doing it. That's just put everything out there. But I think with the beach patrol, it'll be a lot easier to evaluate, keep the flag evaluations up and to look at them and see if there's a better way. Because I know right now they just use NOAA, but they may be able to come up with other ways and maybe change them sooner or whatever.
That's
Yeah.
my fear, Randy. That's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. Like I'm all about changing them more often. I think it needs to be done. My fear is their experience and understanding of the water, not
agree.
being water people. I mean, I've talked to them and they have no idea
They
You know,
don't,
changing them, their understanding. And again, I know because I did it.
yeah.
That's my big fear. It took a while to train guys to understand what was going on with the water and with the structural currents, all the different rips that we have. So that's my reason, I guess, that,
Yeah,
you know,
no, I get you.
I mean, I like it. I like the idea of changing them more often.
Yeah.
It's just changing them more often without the understanding is my fear. So,
And knowing more about it. Learning
yeah,
more
yeah,
about it.
maybe there's training we can get them to or something, you know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Any other discussion? On my own personal note, after sitting with this committee for all these months, I do think there's definitely a usable component, which is the sound component. And I think having a permanent PA system maybe mounted on the water plant that's quite loud that can be used for announcements would probably be a good thing. So I'm
I
not quite,
agree.
you know,
I agree with that too. I think that makes a lot, you'd have to put it on the concession on North Beach too, probably, but
yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense.
because we don't have a way to make a announcement to the whole beach. It'd be bullhorns or even the small air horns when they change each flag, but that's not going to catch everybody's attention. And I think you get one of those PA systems like Palisades had for the emergency broadcast. That's the way to go if you really got to get a message out there. But
Yeah, but that message is, to Sean's point, only effective if the message is available and recognized to be made at the appropriate time. So, I mean, if we don't have somebody stationed down there monitoring the water conditions, I don't know how much more effective, because I'm all for adding an audible, warning that signs or flags have changed. But if we're not changing them when they need to be changed on a consistent basis because somebody's got trained eyes on the water, I don't know as though it'll ultimately end up being any more effective.
You know where that changes, Cam? Because a couple of years ago when my buddy was still alive, we saw a rip, a really strong rip down by the Blue Stairs. And I'll bet you, we didn't have 2-foot waves. It was nice. I mean, it would have been great swimming. And the next day when he went down for coffee, he was talking. And for liability, they use NOAA. They don't use even if they think it should change, they're probably not going to change because it's just like the beach. And I get on the beach sign when says swim at your own risk. I understand why they use it. They use it because that's the norm and that's what's been tested or approved. And that's the same way with the flag system runs off of NOAA. And unless they can really get people trained and understand, and even with the lifeguards, they might not let the lifeguards change the flags. If NOAA says it's green flags and they think it should be red, I don't know if they'll be allowed to be able to do that.
It was never an issue in the past, though. And
Well-
NOAA does not factor in the impact of our structures in the water.
Well,
But a lot of that was before the web too. I mean, you know, a
exactly.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of technology has changed. There's no doubt about that.
Right, but more people are drowning.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well,
so I get that technology has changed, but a fat lot of good NOAA did us last year is my
well,
point.
and that's, yeah, in a
And
lot of that.
liability doesn't mitigate risk of lawsuit. So if what we really
Right.
mean when we say liability is money, I
Yep.
mean, we could still be sued regardless of whether or not we're
Whatever
liable.
you- But you're not gonna get, I'm telling you, I don't think they're gonna change the flags unless NOAA changes it. Am I wrong, Katie?
They
Standard
won't usually,
we've
but
been
I've
using.
called them and they'll come down and look. Sorry,
Okay.
Kate, go ahead.
No, it's the standard we've been using and, but you know, they can also go down and make determinations, but those are pretty rare. Because really you're trying to set a standard and that's a standard that's been recognized around the lake.
Yeah, seeing that,
It's not
That-
contract.
and that's what you're up against all the time is what the standard is.
Yeah, the standard is failing people all around the lake.
Well,
The drownings in Michigan have increased 87% in the last 3 years.
well, Cam, I had that same argument with fire sprinklers. There hasn't been one life ever lost in a suppressed building when that sprinkler worked, but you don't see fire sprinklers in houses. You know, and it's a shame. It's a shame it isn't done, but I'm not trying to argue. I'm just telling you and I don't
I
agree
get where
with
you're
it.
coming from.
Yeah,
I get where you're coming
I
from.
don't agree with it, Cam. I don't. But you know, they ought to be able to make their own decision, but I don't know if they'll be able to.
Okay, so, and I'll just say one last thing about the sound system. I think it's multi-use. You have, I assume that someday we're gonna have fireworks again. Could be utilized in that instance, and it does reinforce flag changes. And then the one I really think about, we have in the past had some situations where we had to close swimming due to some samples taken of the water,
Like E. coli or something.
like E. coli. And if we ever run across that unfortunate circumstance again, that would be a nice way to reinforce telling people stay out of the water. So, all right, any other discussion on this item D, flag system? So the motion was to include the first two bullet points and not the third.
Right.
Okay. So no further discussion. I'll call the roll.
Renner,
Yes,
Russell,
No,
Stegman,
Yes.
Timmer,
Yes.
Van Wynen,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Doherty.
No.
Motion carries 5-2.
Okay. All right, that brings us to priority item 8, which is letter C, buoys, which has one bullet point. And that bullet point basically says implement a double line of buoys to separate the swimming area and the no boating zone.
And Kate,
Now, since this did come out as item 8, we'll still need someone to make the motion and support so we can move it to discussion. But remember, even if you do make the motion, you can vote no. But that's what we need to bring it up on the table.
I'll make the motion. I make the
Okay.
motion, I
But
make the motion for buoys and the one bullet.
Tom Stegman, I'll second it.
been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion?
Could I ask if the buoys as they're now in the lake are the same as positioned as they were last year?
I believe so. We typically put them out at 8 feet. That's our permit allows us to put them up to 8 feet. And like I mentioned before, it's to keep boats out. Swimmers may go beyond that up to 100 feet, I believe. Boats do have to stay out 100 feet. That is a state law. So that's kind of where we've been setting the buoys, is at that 8 feet mark. There's a repositioning that happens after large storms and pretty significant wave action. Now that we do have a harbor master boat, it's easier to go back and reposition them, but that must occur once the lake has calmed down, since it's only a 16-foot boat.
Kate, and most of that is regulated by the DNR, correct?
Right, we have a permit to put those buoys in up to 8 feet.
Hey guys, I'd like to just add real quick too, as a boater, I kind of think that the double buoy system is a little bit crazy. Anybody that really is into boating should know that, you know, it's a very basic thing that the buoy line you cannot pass with your boat. So adding that second line, I don't really see where it does us any good. I don't think we really have a problem where boats are coming into that anyway. So, you know, and if somebody's going to decide to swim out past it, I mean, I don't see how, you know, that's going to happen anyway also. So just my 2 cents.
Would the second line be closer to the beach or go out further into the lake from what is there now?
I don't know that we ever discussed that, but if we put a second line in, all we're going to do is confuse people, I think.
Tom, I would say with the second line would have to be within 8 feet depth. That's what we're permitted for the Lake Michigan, but I'm sorry, from the state of Michigan. But we also have a finite number of buoys we're able to put out in the lake for the swim area. I think it's the maximum of 16. Okay. I just recently saw the permit, and that's why I've got these details.
About the only place it would make any sense would be on the north and the south end of the beaches. I really wasn't ever thinking about them being out beyond the swim buoys, you know, westward. I was thinking of them more towards the area where the boats come in. Of course, on the north side, that's all private land, but I don't really see a need for them, but I wanted to make the motion so we could talk about it.
Seems like it's just going to create an alley for the jet skiers, you know?
Well, that's what we talked about before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Stedman,
No,
Timmer,
No.
Van Wynen,
No.
Campbell,
No.
Doherty,
No, sorry.
Renner, Tom Renner,
No.
and Sean Russell.
No.
Motion does not carry.
Okay. All right, this brings us to, oh, we're doing good on time, 7:30. Public comment. 3-minute limit. Anybody have anything to say? Raise your hand, and Kate, you'll be in charge of the.
Oh, yep. So it looks like we got Dave Benjamin. So I'll go ahead and ask Dave to go ahead and unmute. And Dave, you got 3 minutes to address the committee.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Go
And
ahead,
then
Dave.
I've been on all of these meetings since December. There has been no open discussion of a beach patrol on the South Haven Beach Safety Committee. None, nada. Yet it passes as a recommendation for the South Haven City Council to consider. Shays, the South Haven Area Emergency Services, has made no public mention of a beach patrol program. So where does this beach patrol come from? And I'm gonna get to that in a minute. Well, it's gonna have to be faster than that because I only get 3 minutes. On February 4th, 2021, Nathan Slower, the city clerk for the city of South Haven, contacted the Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project, stating that he is researching beach safety and lifeguards for the city of South Haven. And if I'd be able to provide information with resources for municipalities considering hiring lifeguards, needs to know about training, equipment, recruitment costs, legal issues associated with hiring lifeguards, information about best practices for reinstating a lifeguard program in the city of South Haven. I gave him a ton of information through email, and I put him in contact with several beach managers with successful lifeguard programs like Adam Adjabane in Evanston, Illinois, Elaine Church in Sawyer, Michigan. I got to cut this short, unfortunately, because of my time, but we gave him a ton of information. And he was going to present this information to your committee during the February 25th meeting. He also invited Adam Adjabane from Evanston, Illinois to be a featured speaker. But then all of a sudden, Nathan disappeared. He wasn't returning phone calls. He wasn't returning emails, were returned to sender. I reached out to the people that I gave his contact information to. Elaine Church had contacted the city of South Haven to speak to Nathan. And she was informed that he's no longer with the city. And that Kim Wise, the human resource person for the city of South Haven, told her, we're not ready for a lifeguard program. We're considering a beach patrol program. So this is back in February. And it just blows my mind that this beach patrol program just got backdoored in with no discussion, no parameters, nothing. And it's like, well, hey, we could have interns walking the beach who have no training versus having lifeguards that have complete training. It's absurd. Now, Kim Wise is the wife of Ron Wise, the former executive director of Shea. So she would have some privy information about a beach patrol program that magically appears. It seems like quite a few people on this committee have well knowledge of, except for, the people who are advocating for lifeguards.
Well, that's the 3 minutes right there.
Great. Well, one last point. Nathan Slower said that he can no longer discuss beach safety with me. He's not at liberty to discuss. So did he sign a non-disclosure agreement when he was released from the city for creating a lifeguard program? This is absurd.
Can we
Well-
clear this up, Kate, with Nathan and why he is no longer with the city? real
I would
quick?
love to know.
Well, actually, I appreciate that Mr. Benjamin has some ideas about personnel issues, but I cannot discuss personnel issues. That's kind of standard with everyone here at the city. My predecessor would have said that, and his predecessor would have said that. So unfortunately, I cannot answer anything here. That's a personnel matter.
Okay, do we have anybody else from the public who wishes to speak? I don't see any hands up on my screen.
I don't see any hands up either.
Okay. Seeing none, now we'll go to committee and staff member comments. Does staff want to go first?
Sure. I do know that we have been working on some Nixle technology for some time. Actually, it started with a power outages and also with marinas, possibly how to alert the boaters not to step out of their boats if the water was over the docks. So this was started in 2019. We quickly were able to pivot that earlier this year to come out with Nixle for beaches. So that's kind of where that came from. The beach monitoring flag status and pier patrol, that's been a pretty standard agreement that we've had with Shays for, I would say, almost 10 years. We did expand it a little bit to have the Shays interns to be staying on the beach and give more education. Of course, wearing their QR codes. So not a lot of things to add there, but that was expanded to have those interns there instead of going back to the station. So with that being said, I really appreciate everyone's time coming to these the meetings. I know it's been a good couple months and we've put in a lot of work. And so then this would go to City Council to continue the discussion. So thank you for all your time.
Did I hear right that the beach patrol or beach monitoring program, that's already something that's been aligned upon and is being rolled out?
The beach monitoring and the beach flag monitoring program and the pier monitoring program, which have been done for the last 10 years, have already been, those are still going on. Mhm.
So I guess that goes back to how does what we're recommending here with line item F differ than what's already in place?
Quite honestly, it was a pretty vague concept, but I think that's for you guys to have maybe fleshed out, but we got the word patrol. I'm not sure where other people have come up with that idea, but that's what we kind of gleaned from the hours of conversation that we've all had. So how it can be fleshed out is up to discussion. But we have a flag monitoring system that we've done for 10 years, that they go out 4 times a day, if not more. We've bought them an ATV or an ORV rather. And they also monitor the piers for the life safety rings and throwbacks. So that's been happening for several years now, if
Right.
not 10.
Yeah, since the lawsuit that came out of Marty Jordan's drowning. I get that.
Yes, the flag
with-
system that was in place by that agreement, yes.
Right. So I get that, but with line item D, we made specific recommendations on taking what's in place now and to a next level. That's what I'm saying in regards to beach patrol is it's very vague. We already have beach patrol in place, but we're not making a recommendation on how to expand that or improve that.
Beach patrol is not was not contemplated in previous agreements with Shays. Beach patrol, once they lowered or raised the flag, they moved on to the next one. There was no sticking around. Once they were done with changing the flags, they went right back to the station.
So that's what we're saying is them sticking around after or before.
Yes.
Well, what you have to remember, this recommendation is going to go to city council. City council is going to look at it and they're going to say, we like this, all of these items or a couple of them. And then they're going to say, well, we need to explore it a little more. And then I think Chris alluded to it earlier that, and I don't know why you picked on the planning commission to look at some recommendations, but it could go to Harbor Commission, or it could be this ad hoc committee again gets tasked with coming up with detail. So this is just the first step. Don't forget, there's way more to come with this entire item.
I totally get that. What I'm asking is, what are we recommending in regards to beach patrol? We're just throwing the term out there. There's no definition of that term. And Kate alluded to it before. Shays is already planning on having interns down there more often, staffing down there.
If we go back and look at the minutes from that meeting, it was discussed. I imagine we'd glean 3 or 4 additional bullet points out of that discussion with what it does mean.
But they're not here.
So, okay, can we move on to commission or committee comments? And just looking at my screen, Tom Renner, you're first. You have to unmute.
I'll just say it's been a pleasure to serve with all of you. It's been enlightening to examine this issue so closely. And as Tim has said, I view this as the beginning. I mean, it's not the end of this conversation of how we can have the safest Lake Michigan beaches that you could find. So thank you again for the opportunity to serve.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Randy Van Wynen. On mute.
Hey, Randy, you're still muted.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I just wanted to say thanks to everybody this has always been a tough thing. It's been tough for everybody. I've tried to keep my, my past professional life and personal stuff out of it as much as I could. And I think everybody's got to realize that for a city our size to have the fire department, police department, utility department, the city does a pretty damn good job. And I think there's a feeling out there that everybody's against lifeguards, and I don't think that's the case. I think if we do get to the point where there's lifeguards, I hope that it gets put to the vote of the people, so the people get to decide, so that we'll be properly funded. And that's even when we went back here, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, when Western sent all those surveys out. That was my big thing, is if they were going to do a program, I wanted it properly funded. So with that, I just want to thank everybody, and I hope, and signs give us 365 days of trying to educate. If you remember, I always had an issue, and I agreed with Cam and them that to swim at your own risk. They don't know the risk. And it took me a little bit to get that. I got it now. I really do. And I do think we could really improve our signage down there. But thanks everybody for spending your time.
Okay, thank you. Timmer.
Thank you. Real quickly, guys, just wanted to say thank you to everyone that was involved in this. I know, things got heated a little bit back and forth, and I appreciate everybody's viewpoint. I truly do. I came into this completely open-minded, looking for a best case solution. Did we get to one? Probably not. And that's really not us to make that final decision. I agree. I think if the city, as a whole wants to pursue this further, it needs to go to a vote of the people, and it needs to be properly funded. And I think it needs its own entity to run it. Whether it be directly under Shays or something like that, it needs to be a city program, so that things are done, to the utmost degree. One of the big reasons personally that I have an issue with it right now is that, through this whole time, all we've talked about are 2 beaches. And I keep hearing, we have multiple beaches. Well, nobody could really, and I've dug, and I could not find any information really on how many drownings happen at our other beaches that will never have lifeguards on. And so, to me, if you're going to do something, do it well, do it right, and do it 100%. And that's a big portion to me too. So, but again, I want to thank everybody for their time, and again, super informative. Unfortunately, I have to leave this for tonight, but great working with everybody.
Okay, thank you. Cam.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what everybody else said. I appreciate everybody's time. We're all extremely busy people at different stages of life, but equally busy across the board. So I appreciate everybody's dedication and time. I have concerns that we're putting forth recommendation that doesn't address enough. Yeah, we can add more signage. I think signage is an effective tool. I think we can make that signage better. But do I think it's going to move the needle? No. So I have concerns. A lot of those concerns come out of the constant conversations that I have with the families of the victims of drownings in South Haven. So I worry that we haven't done right enough by them at this point. I think there's still opportunity. I hope that there's opportunity for more discussion. I'm concerned that we've closed the door on discussion, further consideration on lifeguards by way of not putting it forth as a recommendation for the city council to consider review it. But I think that the recommendations we are making are effective. I just think they would be a whole lot more effective with constant presence on the beach from trained and certified lifeguards.
Okay. Was that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Tom Stegman?
Well, what I have to say is I think this has been very informative. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort in it. And I think this committee did exactly what it was asked to do, is make the recommendations to the city council so they can go ahead and research this more. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Sean?
Yeah, kind of the same as what everybody said as far as appreciate everybody's time. I know that everybody volunteered. Appreciate being asked to be here. Yeah, and I'm happy with any discussion that we have on beach safety. Obviously, it's close to me, having done it for so long. So I'm glad, there's some positive recommendations going forward. But for my parting shot is really, I just feel like we missed the boat. We missed the opportunity to recommend exactly what you just said, Tom. I think to push the recommendation forward that the city council look at lifeguards further. I mean, that it's undeniable, it's unarguable that it's the gold standard. Anybody that does some research out there will see that it's the gold standard. There's nothing that compares, and it's something we did for a long time. And I just feel like we missed the boat on that. However, I appreciate everybody's time.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Chris?
I almost started talking muted. Well, first I want to thank Tim. Honestly, chairing this has not been easy. And I know you have a lot of things on your plate as well. So I definitely want to thank you. And the references to the Planning Commission, a lot of times I'll make those. And I know Tim chairs that as well. So I like to point that out to him. Just a little bit of fun. The council uses the Planning Commission a lot. I don't think we could get a lot of things done without them. They're such a big help in every possible way. As far as lifeguards go, I think if this does come up at some point, it should be a public vote. This should be a citywide vote. It should be on a ballot in a November thing, not to just the city council. This should be because this could affect taxes. And this is something, I think this is another entity. And I loved working with all you guys. I know we've had difference of opinions, but that's what makes this work. That's how we all work together, and we come together. We learn a lot of things from each other. So I want to thank you all. And Kate, thank you a lot. I mean, you get a call from me a lot. I know you probably hang up on me most of the time, but I would. Other than that, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, Kate. So how long before the meeting minutes are ready for this meeting?
We can get them done, I think, within 7 days.
Okay, because unfortunately, guys and gals, this isn't our last meeting because we still have to approve the minutes from this meeting. So I anticipate we just have to get together and open it, make a motion to approve or edit, and then close. So I don't know if we need to wait a month on that one once the meeting minutes are done, or can we do that electronically by like an email vote?
Well, we're not officially like a city council meeting, so open meetings necessarily I would probably, it probably would just be better just to have a Zoom meeting. That way, if there are concerns, we can share them in the public and just kind of get that, you know, if there's a discrepancy, it'd be best to just kind of get that out there.
Okay. What would be a good date for that?
I know that we looked at the third Thursdays, but I think we're coming up on a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Planning Commission's the third, so maybe the 10th or the 9th. The 9th being a Wednesday. I'm not sure if there's a second Wednesday of the month meeting. I don't know of one.
How's the 10th look for, how does the 10th look for everybody?
Fine for me.
In this meeting, it shouldn't be more than 10 minutes, if that helps. And we could start it even later if you didn't want 6 o'clock, we could do 7 o'clock, whatever works. We just have to approve the minutes.
Should work for me.
Okay.
Good for me.
10th, 6 or 7 o'clock.
Let's get it 6 so it's done.
Okay. 6 o'clock on June 10th. Okay,
We'll get those minutes out.
all right,
Gives me
thank
time
you.
to hit all the bars, so.
All right, well, I'll echo everybody else. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you at the next meeting on June 10th, and we'll finish up then. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Tom Stegman will second.
Been moved and supported to adjourn. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none. Kate, will you please call the roll?
Chris Campbell,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
Renner. Yep. Russell,
Yes.
Stegman,
Yes.
Timmer, and Timmer's gone, and Van Wynen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Motion carried, and good night, everybody. And thank you for participating this evening.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Everybody.